Welcome to Adding Fuel to the Hire, a podcast for hiring managers and job seekers across all types of dealerships. With over 20 years collective recruitment experience, Rowan, Tony and Phil draw upon their knowledge to help you navigate through the recruitment and job hunt process. For more information, head to our website, addingfueltothehire.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Adding Fuel to the Hire. I'm today's host, Tony, and with me is Rowan Co. How are you, Rowan?
Good, Tony. How are you?
I'm not too bad. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that I know is very close to my heart, and I'm sure a lot of recruiters' hearts out there, but it's how many interviews are too many. And I suppose the whole purpose of it is candidates will drop off throughout the process. It's probably not as important now with a lot of the redundancies that have occurred throughout Australia and, the rising unemployment rate. You're not going to have as much, trouble finding staff than what you'd ordinarily would. But as soon as the economy picks back up and we're back to where we were, not long ago, we're going to be in the same position where there's going to be way more job seekers than way more jobs available than there are job seekers around. And the importance of trying to get the top talent over the line as quickly as you can, it's just going to be so much more important. And where we see most candidates fall over throughout the process is when it starts dragging out with too many interviews.
It's definitely a delicate balance between having that speed of trying to get the person over the line versus, assessing their suitability, doing background checks, all those sort of things. There's a definite delicate balance there because, if you do take too long and there's too many interviews and the process is too long, you will lose good candidates because they're going to be looking at other roles as well at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the best place to start is probably just looking at when we talk about interviews, what are we talking about? There are different types of interviews. So why don't we kick off there? What's the first couple of types that you're aware of?
Well, I mean, ideally what you'd want to do is a phone interview initially. We always encourage that as a bit of a pre-screen. I mean, we've done our interview when we talk to candidates, but as a hiring manager, you want to do a quick chat with the person. So quick phone chat just to assess their general suitability and then invite them to discuss at a more in-depth interview perhaps. So interview via phone is one method. And also that's sort of moving into a bit more of the video interview as well these days as well.
Yeah, and that I suppose that phone interview you can tell pretty quickly if you're going to like a candidate or not. So it saves, particularly if you're going to have multiple people in an interview, like if you've got 3 hiring managers going to be in there, plus the interviewee's time, it's a lot of time being wasted by people if you get half an hour in and realize it's just not going to be a match. So just that quick 10, 15-minute conversation, you can tell pretty quickly if this is someone we want to dedicate more time to. Yeah,
definitely. And then, of course, you've got your traditional face-to-face interview, which is, sitting down in a room or, as we've said, video interview is becoming a bit more common these days with COVID. Spending time with the candidate and really understanding why they're suitable for the position and also selling your own company as well to make sure that, you're putting your best foot forward to get the right candidate.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's I know we didn't have this down, but just talking about it now, it's come to my mind. There's probably that third type of an interview where it's you're effectively giving a tour of the facility, or that the candidate's 95% of the way there. It's really just we want to get them in front of some other people, meet some important decision makers, or even just their subordinates, and give them a tour and just see if it's going to be a fit.
Yes.
And particularly for relocation roles as well, get them to the town and make sure they experience the town as a whole, where the dealership fits into that, and really just seeing if it's going to be a life fit, I suppose, for them.
Yep.
With all that in mind, I suppose there's no, silver bullet. There's no one answer for all of it. But, how does it look? How many interviews are too many, or what does it look like?
Well, ideally, I think there is a sort of a magic formula. Obviously, it does change between positions and the type of position you're hiring. But the key thing is to really make sure, but before we get to that answer, the key thing is to make sure that the decision makers are involved in the process together.
Yeah.
you don't want a situation with your face-to-face interviews where they come in and they meet with the hiring manager, and then they've got to come in for a second interview where they're going to meet with the general manager, and then they come in for a third interview where they're going to meet the owner. That's a waste of time. You can have all three of those people involved in the decision making, or even if they don't need to be involved in the decision making, really assess who actually needs to be involved and have those people together so that you can get those interviews. I mean, if you want to do separate interviews, that's fine. Maybe try and do them on the same day at the same sort of similar time though, so that they're back to back, so that you've got that, you're not wasting the candidate's time, and you're able to make a decision quicker. And you can also bounce ideas off each other while assessing that candidate. So, but going back to your question, how many interviews is the right number? Personally, I the structure I would go is you've received the application, you've done your screen of their resume, and you think, oh, this is somebody I think I'd like to talk to. Get on the phone, give them a call, have that chat, 10 to 15 minutes, as you said. I don't know. Do you call that an interview? I probably would, just on a technicality, but it's pretty general. You're not going in depth about the role. It's thanks for applying. I would use that as a time to organise the next step, talk about the next steps, make it a bit more, about the process rather than that, and just try and build a bit of
preparing them for it.
And get a bit of a conversation going so that you'll get a gut feel as to, like you said, you'll get a gut feel as like, oh, yep. This person definitely is worth having a chat to. And then from there, go into a face-to-face interview. But like I said, have all those decision makers involved from the start. So ideally, I would think phone interview, one face-to-face interview with all the decision makers, and then an optional third dealership tour, business sell, whatever it is you got to get them across the line with. I wouldn't use that third one as an actual screening or decision-making thing. By then you should have made up your decision as to whether this candidate's the right person. It's more about selling the company to them to make them want to come and work for you. And maybe talking about salary as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that third one, where it can be used very rarely as decision-making, is really if you've started with 5 candidates and you've narrowed it down to 2. You might do a second round of face-to-face interviews that are more of a decision-making tool, but that's really just, we've got our top 2. We're happy with either of them. How are we going to split them? And there's other ways you can, psychometric assessment and other things like that, but really just, one last thing to kind of split the 2. But realistically, it's, as you said, phone interview and then a face-to-face, have everyone in there try and, I suppose, going back a step, where we've seen it work really successfully when clients have had bulk interviews to do and to be able to streamline it is when they just cut out a whole day and they say, right, the 3 hiring managers, we're going to be available all day. This is all we're going to do, and we're going to interview everyone in the one day, and they just smash it out. And then that way all decision makers are there. They've all seen the same interviews. And then by the end of the day, they've got their decision made. It makes it really difficult if you've got, say, 3 or 4 interviews to do with 3 or 4 people and you stretch them out over a 2-week period. You're going to be so confused by the end of it. Who was your favorite candidate? People's, I suppose, memories of different interviews will be different. And you're going to get to the end of it and go, well, we're going to have to bring, Phil back in again because we don't really remember what his answers to these questions were or whatever. So, really dedicating, if you've got multiple interviews, lock away a whole day or a whole afternoon, whatever time frame you need to get them all done in once. But just get it all done in the one time.
And one tip I've got around that, not really related to what we're talking about, but in the interview, I guess the order of the interviews, I had a client say to me once, we want to interview the strongest candidate last. And I thought, okay. And he explained why. It was, they didn't want to be, this candidate was most aligned to the position from what their initial discussion and their resume, but they didn't want that to cloud the assessment of the other candidates that were pretty close as well. So they had a system where they would get the most, their favourite candidate in last, so that they can really spend the time with those other ones. Because if you interview the best candidate first, that's great, and you'll be really excited about them. And then anyone from there is not going to quite look as good. So you're going to have a bias to that best candidate already, and the other people won't get a fair assessment. So I think it can be positive or a good way to, I guess, give everybody a fair go, because you might find a diamond in the rough there that maybe didn't put their skills properly down on a resume. So,
Yeah.
you may not have considered them as your strongest candidate. So, giving them an opportunity to shine without the cloud of the most perfect candidate who had the best interview being first, I think is can be a good strategy.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I suppose subconsciously you are going to be, if that's your favorite candidate, you interview them first and you go, yep, sweet, that's our person.
Yep.
You're going to zone out for the next 4 hours of interviews and not really give them a shot at all.
Well, we've had clients, want to just cancel the rest of the interviews because, they've had that first candidate, they've interviewed them, and the other candidates that we put forward might have been great, but they've made up their decision, or made a decision, and that's the direction they want to go in. So yeah, I guess I know it takes more time, and maybe you just want to find the right person as quickly as possible. But I think in most instances, it is a good opportunity to be able to give those other people an opportunity to put their best foot forward without that cloud of the good candidate.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that, but I've actually had that example happen to me where I had a client call me up and had to, they wanted me to cancel interviews of people that were actually on their way to attend said interview.
Yeah.
And I know this episode's about how many interviews are too many, but 0 is probably how many interviews are too few. So definitely give everyone that you've, screened and organised an interview, definitely go through with them regardless of whether you found someone.
But I want to talk about, I guess, there are instances, as you said, where perhaps there does need to be 2 face-to-face interviews or more face-to-face interviews than just the one. And that's, in some instances that's okay if that's part of your procedure, or maybe someone was sick or whatever. But the key thing, and if you've listened to our other episodes, you'll hear us talk about this a lot, is communication.
Yeah.
Talk to the candidates, explain the process. And that's when that phone chat at the start of the process can be a good time to talk about, okay, so we're going to have a chat now, 10, 15 minutes just to, just discuss loosely the role.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is we'll get you in. The first interview, usually we do this, but sometimes we may have to get you in for a second interview or whatever, but we'll communicate that. So it's important to communicate to candidates so they know where they are in the process. And if there's a delay in that second interview, or, if there's they need to come back, just keep talking to them, keep them engaged, keep them interested, know where they are so that they don't think, we've talked about planting the seed of doubt. If they don't hear about that second interview, then they're going to start wondering and worrying, and they're not off to a good start if they even do get the position. Yeah,
exactly. And I suppose that's a really good point, and probably one to kind of end on, in that sense that, yes, we do recommend, keeping them to a minimum. But yeah, as you said, if you have to stretch it out for whatever reason, and then there are valid reasons, people, as you said, will be sick, and a different decision maker needs to be there on a different day. That's fine. But yeah, just communicate, keep them interested, keep them engaged, and your chances will be far higher of getting them over the line.
Definitely.
We do have I know it's a short episode, but we do have a topic on the, I suppose a news article on our website for this, which we'll put in the show notes, but jump on there and have a quick look. But if you do have any questions, or if you you're reviewing your processes and you want to ask us questions about how that looks and get our recommendations, happy to give any help. But otherwise, we'll be back next week with another episode. But thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Adding Fuel to the Hire. If you have any questions, or you'd like to hear us talk about a particular topic, why not send us an email at podcast@addingfueltothehire.com. If you like what we do and would like to support our podcast, please leave a review on your podcasting app of choice. For further information, please visit our website, addingfueltothehire.com.